What If You Didn't podcast with Chris Evans, sponsored by JL Solutions Ireland. Okay, on today's episode, we have Fiona Weldon, and thanks a million, Fiona, obviously, to invite me into your home to have a conversation today. So where would you like to start? Obviously, it's your story and yours to tell.
Thanks very much, and thanks very much for coming down as well, Chris. Yeah, I suppose at the very start, just to say a little bit about Jamie, he was our well-loved brother, very funny. I noticed you have a Liverpool accent. His favourite soccer team was actually Liverpool. He was one of 9 of us altogether, and Jamie was, I don't even know how you'd explain Jamie. He had a walk with purpose. And he kind of used to tilt his head. I don't know really how he didn't walk into anything really when the way he walked. His laugh was so hearty. And I suppose the best way I have of explaining Jamie was that he loved music, especially Bob Dylan. He loved the simple things in life, gardening, his family, football, loved going to Croke Park the rare time Waterford got there. But one of my favourite stories actually about Jamie is we went to see Waterford and Kilkenny in the All-Ireland final, nearly the only time we got there. He, at half-time, I went with my mother, and at half-time we were all but beaten. Like, I think we were losing by 20 points. And I was messaging one of our brothers, Patrick, and Patrick sent me a message and said, send Bammy out in the second half with a hurl. And I was telling this back to Jamie when we got back in his apartment, and I said what Patrick had said, and he said, oh, I like her thinking now, but I think I would have sent her out in the first half with 2 hurleys. And that was just his humour, his quick wit. Yeah, so Jamie was obviously our brother, and on the 25th of August, we did a welfare check after we hadn't heard from him in
What year
a couple
is
of
this?
weeks in 23.
23.
We hadn't heard from him, and my sister Frances said she loved me for this now, 'cause she's also in the room. She had been 60 the previous week, and we went out for breakfast, and the normal conversation starts. Have you spoken to this person? How's that? How's the family? I should mention Frances lives very close to me, so we're just one of those families that we don't really live in each other's pockets, but we're always there when you need them.
Yeah.
And so the conversation went, but something really unsettled Frances that day. And she was so concerned. And it was a concern that we couldn't go by the wayside. Like, she kept ringing and saying something doesn't add up. But she was really worried about Jamie.
Bit of a gut feeling. Like,
yeah, a real gut sister feeling, I think. And so he hadn't wished her a happy birthday on the 15th. But I suppose what would really concerned Frances is she had wished him a happy birthday on the 19th, and he hadn't replied to that either. So we decided that evening we'll do a welfare check, and we really thought we were going to make the call. His phone had been broke or something like that, and that was what was going to happen. And that wasn't what happened. 11:38 p.m. on the 25th of August, when we made the welfare check, the guards took his date of birth, and then they said, well, you need to go to your premises and go through everything with you. So we were actually in Tramore, my brother's house. My brother Sean has 2 young children, and we decided, no, do you know what, we'll go back to Butlerstown to this house. And the guards came here shortly after midnight, and they told us that Jamie was deceased and that he was in Dublin City Morgue since the 1st of August. This was the 26th, the morning of the 26th. So we were just absolutely broken. Like, Frances was here, Sean was here, I was here, and then you have the task of ringing everyone else. And everyone was just completely and utterly shocked, broken, and it didn't even hit us at the time what they had said, that he was in the morgue for that length of time. It just hit us that he was gone.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget what Billy said. He came in the door and he said, that's the second of the boys now, and it shouldn't be like that, because Billy is the oldest of the family. And I think that cut us more than anything else, because, you know, you have the head of the family, our parents are all deceased, and when you have the head of the family saying that, it really just cut you like a knife. Our lives kind of really, in the blink of an eye, just
changed overnight.
changed.
Like, so just to go back a small bit, where you said that you obviously contacted the guards half 10, and was it half 10 in the morning, or was it half 10 in the
And
evening?
I, so it was 11:38 p.m. when they
So
made the call.
somebody made the call, and then within an hour they told you,
Oh, not even. They were here about 2 minutes past 12, so about 20, 22, 25 minutes.
and you found out
And
then.
we found out straight away then, yeah.
And did they say why they hadn't contacted you at all, or?
The two guards, so Jamie was living in Dublin, so these
Mm.
two guards, they came from Washford City, and they basically said that they found out on the way out the news that they were actually delivering. They had no idea. They were on patrol.
Okay.
They came to the house, and then they so they were almost as shocked as we were, and they were brilliant. They were offering to make us cups of tea. They stayed for 2 hours. Now, they originally said that Jamie was in the morgue since the 1st of August. So that's the information they had got. So they were really nice. They said that the best thing to do is the Dublin City Morgue isn't open at the weekends. This is the early hours on Saturday morning. And on Monday, if you ring the Dublin City Morgue, you can arrange to go up and view Jamie and take him home and lay him to rest and everything. So we contacted the Dublin City Morgue on the Monday, and then we were told that Jamie was unviewable and that DNA would have to be taken. So our brother Michael went up to Dublin on the 29th, which was the day after. That was the Tuesday. He gave the sample, and then that sample stayed in Dublin Garda station for a whole week till the following Monday before they even sent it to Forensic Ireland. So there was a lot of delays there before we could even bring Jamie home.
Yeah.
I should probably also say, like, for the family, but specifically for Billy and Susie and Jason and the whole extended family, that Billy's wife Mary actually passed away during that week as well. So it was just absolutely
Terrible
horrendous
time. Like,
for
yeah.
them and for the family. It was just, you couldn't even fathom into words how they felt. And you still can't, it's just incredibly hard, especially for them. And I just felt like our world was tearing apart, and we weren't even thinking about the delays. We were just thinking about getting Jamie back, and unfortunately, like, we were here before, I mentioned Patrick, and in 2017, Patrick was living in Australia for 17 years, and he came back for a couple of weeks. And during that time, when he came back, he visited a few places. And on the 30th of August 2017, the guard came to the door of this house again and told us that he was found in the River Liffey. He was found at 7 o'clock in the morning of the 30th of August 2017. The guards were here at 10 o'clock on the same day, and the only thing he had in his pocket was his passport. And they found us in 3 hours. After everything calmed down, I suppose that was what we were thinking about then. Like, how does it change in 6 years? How does it change from 3 hours to then 6 days? I should say we were originally told the 1st of August, but we did find out it was the 19th of August he was in the morgue.
Yeah. And when the guards come to tell you within the hour of reporting him missing, like, did you, obviously you were so distraught, you didn't think to ask, well, why has it took this long? How come? So if they're asking for DNA, how could they know it was Jamie then if you then had to submit a sample the following week? Obviously, I'm sure you asked them questions as well.
Yeah, at the time, I think we were so numb. We didn't ask Anton that evening. But on the day that, on the Monday, when we rang up to think that we were going to Dublin to view Jamie, that was when we kind of started asking the questions. Well, how long was it that he was in the morgue for, and why didn't anyone contact us? And, like, when you compare it to Patrick and I, we're in an unfortunate situation. Now, we do have a direct comparison. He was in an apartment in the Ivy Trust in Dublin in Kevin Street. That apartment was registered in his name. When the guards found Jamie, they took his PPS card, an out-of-date PPS card, a medical card. So they knew his details. They seized his phone. His phone would have been registered in his name. There was date of birth, birth certs there. There was absolutely every kind of... They knew who he was, but I think in order to make sure he was going back to the right family, they needed a DNA sample to make sure we were his family, which, we accept. We accept that. It did delay everything, but we do accept that. So the DNA sample was given on the 29th of August 2023. And we eventually got Jamie back on the 15th of September. So
Yeah,
again,
a
another
long
huge
time.
delay there.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer this, but what happened to Jamie?
He ended his life. So Jamie ended his life on what we think was probably around the 28th or 29th of July, because that's the last time he was on Facebook. So I think it would have been probably around that time. And he he left us a note where he told us as his family that he loved us, that he just couldn't live anymore. And it was a note that, it meant an awful lot to us, because it meant that on the worst day of his life, he was thinking about his
Yeah.
family. Now, that note actually wasn't found at the time. It was not until the 1st of September, when his friends arranged for a mass to be done in Dublin, that myself and Francis travelled up. And when we were speaking to the manager at Ivy Trust, it was him that actually found the note. So that note was never found by the Gardaí.
Mm.
So they didn't know it existed. But that was something that we were able to get, thankfully.
Yeah. So you obviously feel let down big time by the guards, the whole process from, that news is the worst news any family member wants to hear, and the fact that the process took so long for you to even find out, you had to report it.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
But yeah, I mean, we can see now that in 2017 the system worked. The family was told in 3 hours. In 2023, it failed us completely.
Yeah.
And no, I think the worst thing is no one's putting their hand up, no one's taking any accountability whatsoever, and you feel that you have to investigate your own brother's
100%, yeah.
death and what happened and why wasn't people told. And I think it's just absolutely horrific, and that's why we're kind of trying to fight for change. Everything you could possibly think of went wrong. Absolutely everything. Like, we had his funeral in a local church on the 16th of September, 5:15 in the evening, and the priest who was taken over from uh, our usual parish priest, he came out in a filla top and jeans. He pointed at the coffin and said, "Who's that?" Didn't even know who it was. And we went into the church. He wouldn't even do the prayers that you usually get the night before. We felt like we were shunned, completely
yeah.
shunned, and we felt like Jamie was, and Jamie has no voice then. So the next day then, when there was actually the mass itself, I'll never forget that service. Like, that service, after we waited so long to bring Jamie home, that was the only thing we could give him.
Yeah.
The only thing we could do. And the priest, one of the gifts, when Frances went out into that apartment on the 1st of September, she picked up a few things we could use for the mass. And she picked up a Bible, which Jamie had. She picked up a Liverpool mug.
Yeah.
There was a little radio. I think it was a Bob Dylan book and CD, and those kind of things. And his Waterford flag, big 6-foot Waterford flag. And we had those as gifts. And the priest said, like, Jamie didn't live by the Bible because of how he ended his life. He brought our brother Patrick into it. He wasn't after meeting us. Usually you meet a priest beforehand. He didn't meet us. He just went on a little rampage of how Jamie died by suicide and how that was wrong. And there was people in that church, like, I will just never forget. Usually after a service, people go, how nice the service was. People just were stunned. You could hear a pin drop in that graveyard. They couldn't believe what happened. The funeral director got complaints. The bishop got complaints. And we just felt the last thing we could have given him was taken away.
The right send off, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was another thing of just what went ridiculously wrong. Like, it's just absolutely everything. That poor man, like, he didn't do a thing to anyone, and nothing went his way.
Yeah. So obviously, you bury Jamie, and then the dust kind of settles, so to speak. When did you start saying, actually looking back at everything, saying this doesn't sit right with me? The length of time, obviously the priest and stuff like that. When was it then you said, I'm actually going to do something about
It was
this?
very quickly.
Yeah.
It was, I would say, it was approximately a week or two after it, and it just wasn't sitting well with any of us, and we were having all these little mini meetings, and
Of
no
course,
one
yeah.
was happy and everyone was upset. And first we were trying to sort out the priest and the Catholic Church, and we gone to the bishop, and the bishop actually came to the house and everything like that. And then the focus had to go on Jamie, like what did happen. And so we got a solicitor in November, and we went to the solicitor, who was absolutely brilliant. And he was explaining that, yeah, something has really gone on here. And we wanted him for the inquest whenever the inquest was going to be. So we had a lot of meetings with the solicitor. Then, as we were going through Jamie's belongings, we noticed his wallet was missing. And we originally thought the guards must have seized that on the day, so we contacted them to see what they had. And they said they had a PPS card, a medical card, and a phone. So we said, well, they probably took the cards out of a wallet, so it must be still mislaying it somewhere. But it turned out that those cards were actually out of date by years. We don't even know really where they came out of in the apartment. And we got his phone back. And when we turned on the phone, we realised that the guards never did, because the weather widget was on the 30th of July. So had they turned on the phone, they would have seen that the last person he was talking to was our sister Monica. They would have seen on his Facebook the message from Francis, the message from everyone wishing him a happy birthday on the Facebook wall. And if they looked at his friends on Facebook, they would have seen he had 33, which 7 had the surname Weldon, and there was 15 relations to him.
Yeah.
So we just think, at that stage, I think we just sat here and looked at each other and said, something's gone really wrong here. They haven't
not
done
right,
anything. Like, how did they not find us? And when we were looking through his belongings, I've lost count of how many pieces of identification were there. There was 3 copies of his birth cert. So his parents' name were on the birth cert. So had they went and looked at birth, death and marriages, it would have linked them to us, right? On one of the letters where he had gone to a hospital, his next of kin was our mother. Now she is deceased, but still it probably would have linked him into the PPS and so on, and who else was there. It just didn't fit. So we decided we still had to do something, and we reported his wallet is missing, and our solicitor advised us to do that. So we went into Tramore Garda Station and did that, and there was no follow-up there. Then in February of 2024, we decided we were going to make a GSOC complaint about it and find out. We just wanted questions answered.
Yeah.
We weren't looking for any kind of fight or argument. We just had questions we wanted answered. But one of the questions we obviously had was about the 6-day delay. How are we not contacted? And the other question then we had was when we went to the Garda station in October and got his phone back, we obviously questioned why the phone wasn't on. But one of the guards that we met who were at the scene, he said that himself and his colleague had forced entry into the apartment. And then he went out of the room, came back in and changed his story entirely, and suddenly now it was the Ivy Trust manager that made entry into the apartment. So our complaint was, well, why is there an inconsistency there? How do they not know who forced entry into the apartment? And I suppose, why don't they care? And then we also put a complaint that we felt that there could have been discrimination involved and that we weren't contacted, and maybe even subconsciously it had something to do with where he was found or the life he led or anything like that. And as well as that, when we were clearing out the apartment, when we spoke to the Ivy Trust, one of the caretakers there said there had been a sting operation in the Ivy Trust where an undertaker had been arrested for taking items from the dead. And then we were thinking, well, that would explain the wallet.
Yeah.
We had so many questions. So we made the complaint. Then in June of 2024, we went to GSOC in Dublin. We had our interview with them.
Just to be naive, what's GSOC?
It's like Garda Ombudsman, but they're like the over the guards who you complain to.
The police.
Exactly. And they're the only people that can. And they now have changed their name to FISRAO. Ideally they're the same. So we went up there, lodged the complaint, and then 331 days later we got a response saying that basically they didn't find any failings with the guards. They didn't feel like they did anything wrong. Now we questioned everything. We questioned why wasn't the suicide note found? Why wasn't the wallet investigated when we reported it?
The phone switched on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
and everything they came back with, actually, they left the phone out of the report. They didn't even respond to that.
Mm.
And the note, they practically said that it mustn't have been there because they didn't find it. But then we had the inquest on the 1st of June, maybe 2024. And at the inquest, then we obviously got our solicitors say a lot of these, and I don't know if you know much about an inquest, but they don't leave you to ask a lot of questions. Her
Okay.
job is kind of to find where it happened, why it happened, and what happened. Out of that remit, she's not really interested, and a part of her can't, because if you're going to go further and bring it somewhere else, she can't really live a lot beside. So one of the things, and she was very, very good, was we had brought up the note from Jamie, and she said the witness, Norbert Hanlon from the Ivy Trust, he wasn't there. He was ill at the time, so he couldn't attend. So she actually said, look, if he was the person that found the note, then we will adjourn this till he can come in and confirm that the note was there. Because at this stage they were saying there was no note. And the other thing then was we wanted the photographs that were taken at the scene. So we were never able to see Jamie. All we seen was a coffin.
Yeah.
And you had we had the trust that was Jamie in the coffin, just like we had the trust the two guards that came here to tell us that Jamie died, just how we had to trust everything.
Yeah.
But then when there were so many inconsistencies, you learn kind of quickly you can't really trust
Yeah. You
anymore.
start to question everything.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, it was bad in that sense.
So this was obviously still going on 2 years after, not that you don't want to forget, but like, you want to start healing, so to speak, like, and you're still having to go to see solicitors and,
Yeah.
inquests and stuff like that. You never could really feel like, you could say goodbye properly in the hall,
No, I think I think we felt we couldn't grieve.
Yeah.
And I think I think if we were very honest to ourselves, I know what, if I am, I don't think I have, because you're still trying to get the answers for him. He can't get any. And you find that you kind of have to be his voice.
Of course, yeah.
It's very hard to try and get the answers when every door you knock on is either they want to answer you or they can't. And it's very hard to get the people that can make a change or can do something about it to actually listen to you.
Yeah.
We've learned that it's actually very, very, very difficult. The people that you need to listen to you,
Yeah.
it's very hard to get to.
So how far into that now are you? Obviously, you said you got a solicitor involved, and
Yeah.
and you spoke to off the camera. You were saying about going to Leinster House. Obviously, you want to get some form of justice, like, or change the whole process in some way, so this
Absolutely.
doesn't happen again to another family. Like, so.
Yeah, and Chris, you've said it in a nutshell. That was always our mission. Was
Yeah.
this just can't happen to anyone else. And we can't change what's happened to Jamie or to our family, but we just don't want it to happen to anyone else. We had the second inquest, so after it got adjourned, we went back to Dublin, and the coroner saw that there was a note, and the coroner saw that in the photos produced, you could see the note in it. So they obviously confirmed that our train of events was correct. So she said that she would, Dr. Ona Gallagher, she said that she would write to the management of the Gardaí to say the distress that the 6-day delays caused. So then we went back to the solicitor, and the solicitor just kind of said, our own solicitor has kind of dealt with the inquest and everything. So now we're kind of looking to go into a more political view. The only thing now that we can do to get any of this changed is if we go to the Minister of Justice, get him to contact the Garda Commissioner and ask for a commissioner-led review.
Mm-hmm.
So we started a petition in which we've got, I think, about 600 signatures.
I'll leave the link to the petition as well, so people can click on it.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we won't be leaving you out here without signing it. But no,
Yeah.
it's very important. We just want to see change. Like, this is obviously systematic. This isn't just it happened to us. If it can happen to us, it can happen to absolutely everyone. There was very similar, even a more horrific story there coming out in the paper around Christmas time. happened again in the Phoenix Park, and a man was found with 9 forms of identification, and they didn't contact him. That man was in the morgue for a year. So this
Mm.
isn't, it's only happened once. It's an isolated event. This is systematic. And it can, like in our eyes, because we're not there, we think there's fixes that can be easily
Yeah.
made. I'm sure they're not as easy as we think they are to start. But I think that any family that has a suicide or a son, they should have a liaison officer. We had no one to ask questions to.
Mm.
And our guard, the investigating guard, was on annual leave for 13 weeks, so you couldn't contact him. So we had absolutely no one to contact. I think also, if the Gardaí can't find next of kin in which what they've said happened here, then there should be another team. So if there's 2 or 3 days go by and they can't find the next team, they should pass it on to someone else and get someone else actively looking, or say, did you check the phone? Did you?
Yeah, asking questions that team isn't, because I always say as well, like it's great, like I was saying, I have my own business, and I always get other people to look at certain situations because a new set of eyes is a new questions. They're looking at it differently.
Yeah.
100% agree there. There should be some, even if it's another team off the team, so to speak. Yeah,
Absolutely. That just proactively looks for a next of kin if a
yeah,
next of kin has to be found. I know in the UK they are way ahead of us there. They have, like, we have the pulse system for the guards
yeah.
here in the UK, and the missing person system. In the UK they have, if they found a body, they can put things up so that people can view photos of, say, a ring, of
Belongings, yeah.
shoes, belongings, and they can find their loved one that way. I think we are miles behind here. I don't think there's anything like that, and that is kind of the level they need to be. Again, it's not, to us it sounds like a fairly easy fix, you
Well,
know.
when you think about social media now and stuff like that, like it's huge, and AI, and there should be some. I'm like you, there should be something. It,
Yeah,
it seems like a simple fix, but I'm sure obviously they've got protocols and stuff they have to follow. But I'm sure, like when you're reading articles like that, you just mentioned at Christmas, and it's happened to another family, and like it must just be bringing it back up every time you see
every
something
time.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, every time, because then you feel like if they listened to us, it
Mm,
could stop this
yeah.
happening. From the offset, our kind of thing was we don't want it to happen to another family, but our other thing is what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and we just feel like everything to
Mm.
do with that was absolutely horrendously wrong.
So the petition now, is there a certain amount of signatures you have to get before it can go
No,
further, or
actually, interestingly enough, it only needs one in order to hit the Oireachtas. So you actually
okay?
only need one signature to open it up. But we don't want to go at one, so
No, of course not. No,
we're not
no.
going off for handing in one. We're handing in
Yeah,
as many as we can get. And really, what we're looking for is if we can get that review open, if we can get um the commissioner to have another look at it and say, actually, the 6 day the delay was because of this, and we have fixed that, so that isn't going to happen to anyone
hmm
else. It's the DNA process, like that could be a lot shorter as well. That we did always find that, like, there should be an option to the family. Why can't you get it privately done and we'll pay for it?
mm,
Like, we tried absolutely everything, Chris, that day when they said that we couldn't view him. We offered to tell them where his birthmarks were. We offered anything you could
yeah.
think of. It just wasn't good enough. But there must be changes there. Like they said, there's a backlog. Well, then why is it only 9 to 5? Why don't they open it up a little bit longer, get rid of the backlog? You could get probably rid of that backlog in a couple of weeks and then go back to your 9 to
Yeah,
5 if you want.
definitely.
And again, to us, it seems a little bit easy, but it obviously isn't. It just seems like sometimes the only services we have, they just fail you.
Well, just to go back there to obviously the social media, and that's how I come across you. You come across really well on social media, and you've got a voice for it. To be honest, to talk over the pictures and stuff like that. And obviously, this is your story, and I'm just obviously sorry that this has happened to you and the family. But hopefully that you get the answers that you need.
Yeah, thank you very much,
Mm,
Chris. Think the TikTok and the social media just started because we'd done a few interviews and that, and then I said Jamie's not really coming across here the way we want, and we
yeah,
want people to remember him, not just a case number. And the one picture everyone has seen of him. So I'm sure he loves the little embarrassing photos we're putting all over social media now, but we haven't forgotten him. We won't leave anyone.
And did you get any answers from the church? You know, you went to see the bishop and stuff. Did they give you any answers for the funeral?
Not really. The bishop came, and we wanted to find out.
What is it?
The bishop was sitting down there.
Oh, sorry.
The bishop was sitting there where you were sitting.
No way. So we come to the house, yeah.
He came to the house, which would be rare enough. The funeral home representatives came to the house, and we were just asking questions like, how did no one stop the priest? Because Billy had to hold down our younger brother Sean, and I had to pull back one of the other lads, and we were like, how did that happen? Like, how did no one stand in from the funeral home or anyone and just stop it? And they didn't really answer that. The only thing they kind of said was they weren't in the room when the mass was going on, so they didn't hear it. But they got a huge amount of complaints. And the bishop just basically said that it was a training issue, more or less, that this priest was from a different country with different cultures. And we kind of put it to him, well, you're the one that's saying it's cultural. If it's a cultural issue, then why didn't someone say to him before the mass started, things are a little bit different over here? And, you know...
sounds like they were passing the blame on there to easy way out. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And like mental health, especially amongst men, is massive. We've seen that with our family, our two boys. In the area we live, Butlerstown alone, I could give you 8-10 names of people that have passed away, and there was a lot of people in that church that day that had people that died by suicide, and you almost felt like going down and just apologising to them, but you couldn't, you know. And what I noticed was in the church, like Jamie was from Dublin, and there was a good few people there. But I noticed in the graveyard there was a lot more people there. And my theory was always that people watched that online and immediately got to the graveyard to be there for us because they seen what happened. I always did think that that's what happened, because by the time we got to that graveyard, there was a huge amount of people there. Now, he wasn't wearing the fillet top that day. He did put the vestments on him, but that priest had absolutely no respect for us or the family. And that's the last thing you need when you're going through that. Like he said at one stage, the family are probably asking if there's more they can do. Of course we were. That was without question. That was every single one of us was saying we should have seen this happen and we should have done more. That's the question you always have. You don't need someone saying, is the family asking themselves that question? Of course we were. We 100% were. We were absolutely distraught. We were there again, you know, and he didn't care. Like, he didn't care that we waited to get Jamie home. He didn't care that Jamie was in the morgue away from his family for 27 days. He just wanted people to know this isn't what the way you're meant to do it. Like, and it just unbelievable.
Yeah, obviously you can see, you know, it's even hard for you now to be talking about it. And so you going to Leinster House there on the 12th? Is that
yeah, that's amazing. We were invited to Leinster House. I think when I originally put it up on social media, I think people thought we were just going to protest. But we were actually invited.
Well, it is common at the moment for the old protest.
Days, yeah, and I'm sure when the farmers give us lend a tractor if we ask. No, we're not actually protesting. We were invited by Deputy Gettigan to go up to Leinster House and to meet him. And then Conor McGuinness, who's a local TD, he said that he'll actually write to the Minister of Justice and ask him will he sit down with us, which would be fantastic, because that is really who we're trying to talk to ask him, can he help?
Yeah, I actually think as you're saying it, it's a system issue. It's not particular guards, it's a system. It's a system that needs changing.
Yeah, I think it really is, because even if it was, say for example, down to one guard and one guard made an error, then it should have been his superior that turned around and said there's an issue here and we haven't got the relations. And in the depositions, all of the like the guard in his deposition said that he found Jamie, he forced entry. In the caretaker's deposition, he said he did. So you were in the coroner's court and still not knowing who found him. everything. It was just a mix-up. There was contradictions all along. You just want answers.
Just
Like
makes
there's
sense,
something going on there that just needs to be uncovered. And and I think if anything can come out of this, Jamie's legacy, I think is to find the truth, make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else.
Definitely, yeah. How old is Jamie?
He was found on his 57th birthday.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes I think that was meant to be because would have been there for nearly 2 weeks. So I think it was almost meant to be that he was found on his birthday. He was, at least we knew where he was going to be, but then we weren't told for another week.
Now, look, again, thanks a million for inviting me into your home. And just before we obviously wrap it up, is there anything else you want to talk about, or is there anything else that you think that needs to be said?
Yeah, when we went up to get the phone, the guards that changed the story, originally he didn't want to talk to us at all. He brought us under the stairwell in Kevin Street Guard Station, and anything we said, he was very defensive of it. So we mentioned that there was letters missing from his apartment, and he said, I didn't look through any letters, and I was kind of, I'm not saying you did, saying they're just gone, And then we wanted him to report missing items because we found a DID receipt, and there was like a laptop and stuff. And these items were allegedly purchased in 2022. And he basically said, oh, sure, they'd be all old. They could be all finished. This was only 23 now. Like, we were kind of like, well, they're not that old.
It was just a strange reaction to what you were asking for.
Yeah, really strange. Yeah. And again, we made a statement then to say there was missing letters, and again, we didn't hear anything back. So it was just kind of quite a few things that happened that don't make sense.
Yeah. Now, Fiona, thanks a million for obviously inviting me into your home and having a conversation. And you come across really well and speak really well. And obviously, this is your story and your family's story.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for taking the time to come down and getting our story out there. We just want to be heard, and you definitely listen. So thank you very much for that.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you for listening to the What If You Didn't podcast. For more episodes like this, like and subscribe. Sponsored by JL Solutions Ireland.